Hello, my lovelies. Happy Wednesday. Happy scoping out. I know that it has been a really tough week with the shooting in Las Vegas. And one of the things that I keep seeing on Facebook is this surface level debate about what America's real problem is. And the underlying sensation, the underlying feel on both sides, I don't care what side of the issue you're on, is this sense of powerlessness, that these things are going on and we don't have any control and we don't have any power to change them or to create peace amongst us in this world that we exist in today. So I want to talk about that today. There's two levels of this. One is I want you to be careful about where your focus is. I know that a lot of the dialogue right now is about how divided we are, and everybody kind of wants us to believe that we're pitted against one another. And I want you to look at the evidence that that actually is in fact not true. For the first time that I can ever remember, our marginalized communities have a voice. And not only do they have a voice, people that haven't been marginalized, like myself, are listening to this now. We're hearing this now. We're having a conversation. We're banding together with them. We're asking for change in our law and our policy and the way that we think and feel in our communities. For the first time ever, I don't see that separation of that's your life experience, therefore it doesn't apply to me. I'm seeing people fight for each other. I'm seeing people come together and rally and write their legislators. I'm seeing more unity than I have ever seen before. And I know that the division that people are feeling is this division in the non-marginalized communities, right? Because now the non-marginalized communities are going, I believe them. I believe that they have experienced strife. I believe they're experiencing injustice. I believe that they deserve better. And then we've got another side calling bullshit on the whole thing, right? So that's the division, but it's in this much of our population. The rest of that population, right, if this much of the population is uniting. So I want you to understand and shift that belief. Start to look for the proof on how we're actually advocating for one another better than we ever have. We're actually listening to one another better than we ever have. And the more you focus on that, the more you'll see it in others, the more you'll participate, and you'll take this much of that unity and move it over, and move it over, and move it over. Before you know it, everyone will feel heard, everyone will have a voice, and everyone, even if we don't necessarily agree on every topic, we can at least agree that we are moving forward and that we are in this together. That's phase one of how you really start to gain some sense of control. You get to choose where your focus is. Is there a lot of proof of how we're divided? Absolutely. Is that helpful to focus just on that? It's not helpful. It doesn't bring about unity. It only brings about more division. That's step one. Step two is a lot harder, because what we want to do is we want to quickly change laws. We want to quickly change other people's beliefs. We want to quickly manhandle everything outside of ourselves. And guess where we have the least amount of control? Everything outside of ourselves, right? Where do we have the most control? Right here inside of ourselves. This is where we have the most control. And if you're sitting there and you're angry, and you're hurt, and you're confused, and you're frustrated, and you feel betrayed, whatever it is you're feeling because of the horrible events this week, that is where your work is. You heal your hurt, you heal your trust, you heal your sense of betrayal. And how do you do that? Remember, we are in this together. We do that by relating with one another more authentically, particularly those that don't agree with us. And I know that's hard. And I know that's confusing, because the reason we don't see eye to eye is because we feel differently in the first place. But remember, we talked about that unity, about all sides feeling heard, about all sides feeling that they have a voice, at least in the conversation. They don't feel forced upon. If you put up your dukes, if you come at them with your fists up, what are they going to do? What do you do when they put their fists up with you? So what happens when you come with an open heart? What happens when you come palms open? Okay, we have a problem. Help me understand. They put their palms open. Oh, thank God you're finally listening to me. right? You engage differently when you open up yourself to the possibility that maybe you're wrong, you're misinformed, you misunderstand, or you've been closed off. And I know that's hard because you feel like you're right. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. You feel like you're right and you feel like the other side is wrong. And that's okay. It's just not helpful. It doesn't help us change anything in our culture. Because until our culture changes, our legislation is never going to change. And the second thing you do is you get down to the heart of the matter. Right now we're talking about guns and mental health. Those are the two sides of the issue, right? But I want you to get down, use that toddler game in the book, right? Or if you're taking the tele course, use the toddler game. Why? Get deeper into levels. Why does that bother me? Why do I think? And if you're on the mental health side only, right? It's only a mental health issue. And the reason you don't want to get rid of your guns is because you feel like you're unsafe against a potentially tyrannous government. You don't trust your government. Find a way to trust them. Become more involved in your community government, your board of education, write letters, show up at rallies peacefully, of course, always, but become involved. Maybe run for office. Ask the questions about how these things work and be an instrument of that change in the area you don't trust, in the area that you feel fearful of, so that you can begin to participate in that. We fear what we don't understand. Do your work in the way that you show up for yourself, and then go out and show up in the place that's bringing you fear. And if you're saying, yeah, mental health and these guns are meant to kill, we need sensible gun control, get down to your whys. Go deeper into the levels of why that is so important to you and address it from that standpoint, that deepest level, right? Maybe you're feeling like it's probably similar, right? It's got to be somewhere along the lines of you don't trust the government. It's a gun lobby. It's a money-making machine that is just out to make money, and who cares how many people die. So educate yourself about the gun lobby. Educate yourself about lobbying. Maybe you start to participate in your local government. Maybe you start to hold your own rallies and have this conversation, town hall meetings. If both sides distrust the government, let's have that conversation, right? Let's engage in a way that we are part of the solution rather than wagging our finger and while we cower in a corner. The only thing we have control over at all in our lives is ourselves. That is it. That is all we have control over. And even that is just barely sometimes if we happen to catch the frenetic thoughts that are running through our head all the time. This is where our work is. This is where our control is. If we as individuals are not willing to change, nothing as a collective is ever going to. So I invite you today to make a commitment to yourself to ask, where might you be wrong, misinformed, scared? Where might you do better in engaging in the conversation? And I'm the first to admit, I'll engage in the conversation and I'll ask, and I still don't totally get it. I still don't totally get the other side of the argument. But I get that everybody's out there doing the best that they can, defending what they believe is right in their heart of hearts. And when I'm talking to a person and my belief about them is that they are kind and they're doing the best they can and they defend what they think is right, then I treat them like a human being. I can at least in that way create a conversation where I am not vilifying or demonizing somebody. I'm genuinely trying to understand. I'm not totally there yet myself. But let me tell you, I'm also not existing in an echo chamber that tells me how right I am and how wrong they are, and increasing that divide that is false. Guys, we are not divided. We are a collective consciousness. We are a collective government. We are a collective humanity. We are a collective human race. We are not divided. That is an absolute falsehood. And the only way it becomes real to us in perception at all is if we continue to believe it and we continue to act upon it. So pull it together, pull us together. Be that change you wish to see in the world. I know it's a long game, and I know it's hard to have faith. But when you're struggling, I want you to know that I'm doing my work. I'm helping people do their work. And somewhere in the midst of all of that, we are healing. We are holding a vision. When you can't hold a vision for peace, somebody out there is doing it. Tap into that faith, tap into that trust, tap into that surrender. Because there's going to be days I can't do it, and I'm going to need you to hold that vision with me and for me. Let me know how you're doing. Our homework, obviously, is to take full control of self, full control of action, full control of how we contribute to unity. Give yourselves a great big hug from me, and I'll see you next week, Wednesdays, 8:30 a.m. Mountain Time. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and to the blog at tiffanyhammond.com. Get the tools. Love you. Bye.